So continuing our journey into Asian Eastern horror, today we'll be talking about the Japanese movie called Audition. So if you haven't seen my last video, the Korean movie of the Tale of Two Sisters, check it out. But Audition was shot in 3 weeks. When released in Japan, the initial reaction, quoted by the director Takashi Miike, was no reaction, but didn't get the attention it deserved until it gained a reputation abroad. It gained a cult following. Director Quentin Tarantino, he included Audition in his top 20 films released since 1992, the year that he became director, referring to it as a true masterclass, if there was one. After the story, I'll provide additional details. The movie starts with the dad, also known as Aoyama but referred to him as Dad, witnessing his wife passing away and his son walking in the room at the same time, holding a gift. You know, perfect timing. 7 years later, the son and the dad are having dinner, and I bet you want to guess what the dog's name is. The son tells the dad, why doesn't he get remarried? The next day, the dad is at work and they're watching this clip of these people partying, and his coworker says that only lonely people go to these, and says all Japanese people are lonely, you know, hinting that the dad is lonely too. At the end of the workday, while leaving, the secretary goes up to the dad, saying that she's going to get married. Then he asks the obvious question, to who? But she just says, someone he doesn't know. I'm like, sure buddy, though he leaves. Now at the bar, the dad is having drinks with his friend, Yoshikawa. Then these women start laughing. And Yoshikawa comments on it, saying that there's no class and where's the good women. This leads to the dad telling him that he's thinking about getting remarried because his son says that he looks dispirited. Yoshikawa asks, what are you looking for? The dad begins to name off characteristics of his dead wife, and he wants to meet as much women as possible to choose the right one. Then his buddy's like, I got an idea, we could have an audition. Now at work, they're going to pitch a romantic story, you know, based off another movie that they did. And then the dad's concerned, saying, well, wouldn't this be fraudulent? His buddy reassures him, nah, it's not only for him to find a wife, but also for the movie if it gets the funding. Now going home, the dad hears something on the radio about tomorrow's heroine. It's like an inspirational, and a little girl somewhere is listening to this as well. The dad gets home and is greeted by the housekeeper, Ri. Just to point her out, she makes food for them and cleans and stuff. The dad is looking through the applications, and his friend calls him and tells him that he needs to select 30 applicants. And don't trust the pictures, essays are more useful. The dad spills coffee on one of the applications. Then he gets drawn in by the picture. He begins to read the essay. It reads that she studied ballet for a long time, but then damaged her hips at 18. This happened when she was planning to study in London, so her dreams died. So she compared it to accepting death, and that living is another way of reaching death. Knowing these things made her want to audition, but she doesn't expect to get the part. The dad meets his son's girlfriend when he's about to go out. A week passed. They start auditioning applicants. Then we finally get to the woman that he was attracted to, Asami. During the screening, the dad begins to compliment her on her essay, saying he was impressed that someone so young is taking their life so seriously. After this moment, they thank her for her time and she leaves. The dad continues to compliment her, but Yoshikawa, his buddy, you know, there's something that he doesn't like about her. Back at the house, the dad calls Asami, asking if they could meet in person, like a date, you know, or interview type thing. She agrees to this. In his moment of triumph, his friend calls him and tells him something doesn't seem right because he called her contact at Ace Records and there's no director, Shibata, or he isn't there. He's been missing for 1.5 years, just disappeared. Now on the date/interview, the dad asks her about Shibata. Then Asami confesses that she never met him and that she was advised to put him on the application so she'd have a better chance of getting the part. The date was a success, and Asami asked if they can do this again. Now the dad's on the roof with his buddy, saying that he doesn't care about the movie, he only cares about Asami. But his homie's like, hey, don't be too hasty. Don't you think it's a little bit too good to be true? And he can't reach out to anyone who knows her. The dad shrugs these issues off, saying he wasn't born yesterday, he knows what he's doing. Before leaving, Yoshikawa tells him, hey, don't call her for a while, just to be sure that he's wrong about her. The dad and Asami are waiting for a call. At night, the dad has a dream of his wife watching behind a tree. Now the dad, he stayed home from work, and the housekeeper, Marie, tells him that a man can't function without a woman's help. Now at work, the woman who might or might not be getting married, acting weird with the dad like she wants to tell him something, but doesn't. The dad finally gives in to temptation and calls Asami. Now they're on a date. Asami starts talking about her family, how they lived in Chiba now, and she's not that close with them, and reveals that she works at a bar named the Stonefish on 4th Street. She doesn't want him to come because the boss interferes with her private life. Then the dad lies to her, saying that one of the investors fell through for the movie and it might not be made. The scene transitions perfectly to another date. Asami opens up, saying that living alone is a hassle, and it's so nice to talk to someone like him who is warm-hearted and understanding. Now at home, the dad tells the son that he has a girlfriend, that she's 24, but the son tells him the same thing his buddy told him. Hey, don't be fooled. He shrugs it off, and he plans on proposing to her this weekend. It's the weekend now, it's nighttime. Asami calls him to the bed and tells him to look at her body. She's slowly lifting up the covers and shows him the marks where she burnt herself. And she wants him to know everything about her and ask him to love her and only her. You know, they do the nasties. He gets a phone call in the middle of the night, but Asami's gone. He answers it. It's the front desk, and they're asking, since his partner left, they want to know if he's still gonna stay. Now the dad's at work telling his buddy Yoshikawa what happened. He doesn't know where she lives and asks him to help him find the address, but he's like, nah, it's impossible, and just forget about her. The dad starts to have a midlife crisis and says he won't ask him for help, and he will find her himself, and storms out. He finds the address for the ballet studio. It looks abandoned, but once walking away, he hears a piano. Now he makes an effort to go inside. He sees a man in the corner playing it. He turns around and starts to roll to him, saying weird things. Then a quick flashback of how Asami really got that burnt mark on her thigh. He stands up and tells him to go home. Now he's at Asami's work. When walking down the stairs, he gets interrupted by a guy saying no one works there, and that the bar has been closed for a year because the owner was murdered. Also, he doesn't remember anyone named Asami working there. He doesn't know why the owner was killed, but he heard that she was having an affair with the music industry guy, and she got chopped up to pieces. And the crazy part about this was that when the police came and collected the body parts and put them together, they found 3 extra fingers, an extra ear and tongue. Back at home, someone ran into the house, messed with the dad's alcohol. Later that day, the dad is chilling. He starts to tweak. When he tries to leave the room, he falls back, hitting his head. The scene goes back to the second date with Asami, and she's giving different answers. That when she was 7, her parents were divorced, so they sent her to her uncle's. The only memories that she has there was getting abused, and her aunt would push her down the stairs, and she broke her shoulder bones. So that's when the doctor sent her back to her mom's, but her stepfather was a dick too. The third date, she talks about how ballet helped her through tough times. The date gets interrupted by his wife, Ryoko, and tells him that she isn't good for him. Then suddenly, he's in Asami's room, and she's helping him with his pants. He looks back down and it's the lady, the secretary from his work, saying, was it a mistake? It was a mistake, right? When we made love? And that was she stupid to expect things from him? Then it begins to change to different women he met. He throws the son's girlfriend off and runs for her. He trips over the bag and man starts to crawl out. Missing feet, fingers. In the background, Asami is throwing up in a bowl and feeds it to him. Asami turns to her younger self, telling the dad to love only her. Then in the dark part of the room, the uncle stands up. You know, that was the uncle the whole time. Then crawls to her, holding hot rods, telling her to dance or he'll torture her. Now in the room where we first met the uncle, Asami walks up behind him, wraps this wire around his neck that could cut flesh and bones. The dad wakes up and sees Asami. I can't believe she killed the dog gang right there. What did he do, right? He's just living life. She starts setting up and gives him a shot, so he's paralyzed, but his nerves can still feel pain. While getting ready for the stuff that's about to come, she says, "You guys auditioned many girls, but didn't pick her, but instead called her after just for sex. All men are the same," basically. Next set of torture is acupuncture. After placing all the needles, she does this. Then begins to place it on his face. Once done, she gets up, talking about how you only realize who you are by going through pain and suffering. Only when you feel pain can you know the shape of your heart. Asami begins to talk about his son has to feel pain for him to understand more. The dad tells her to stay away from him, and she says, "You love him? You're lying, right? You only love me." She says everyone is the same, while tightening the bands to restrict blood on his ankles, and tells him he can't escape without feet. Now, the same wire from earlier wraps it around his ankle, begins cutting. Now, his right foot. Asami gets interrupted by the son coming home. She runs away with the spray. When the son sees the dad, Asami's about to spray him. The dad wakes up from the dream. He is in the bed with Asami. Asami tells him that she's been thinking about his proposal, and she accepts it, and that she became a real heroine, not in a movie. Now, they fall back to sleep. The dad wakes up again. Asami chases after the son. He goes upstairs and starts spraying him. Then he kicks her off. She goes down the stairs. He rushes down, starts calling the police. Asami's looking at the dad and restates what she said on the first date. Now it's time to explain some afterthoughts and additional information. The movie, not on top tier of Tale of Two Sisters, but we're still in this series to really rank it because there's only two. So, you know, it's second right now. Also, then to further kind of dive into Asami's intention, you know, let's roll out something, right? During an interview with the director Takashi Miike, the interviewer asks him, he feels the audition is a great kind of revenge fantasy for every actress or actor who goes to an audition and they feel helpless and powerless, and did he draw from that? He explains he supposed they're borrowing some stuff from that, but in this case it's really more of a pretext for their meeting. It just so happens that these two met at the audition, Asami and the dad. I'll go into that a little bit, put a pin in there. Now, also, the ending. Takashi Miike explains that the movie self-destructs with an incomplete ending. The people in the story are incomplete, so the movie finishes in a broken down way, which explains his intention in the beginning with no horror, or how the movie progresses in the beginning. So it gives the audience their own developed sense of how the story is going to end, so the audience feels kind of psychologically cheated in the end with how everything played out, and the characters in a way also start changing throughout the movie as the plot gets to its end point. Now with Asami, right, to dive even deeper, that one scene when the dad shows up to her work, quotations, work, right, and she isn't there, and that it's been closed for a year and a half now, or a year, and the guy upstairs says that the woman who owned it had some man troubles with this record guy. She did know the guy at Ace Records, so my theory is that he's the guy in the bag, and she cut up his wife, girlfriend or whatever to little pieces and cut him up to an extent. It explains the extra fingers at the crime scene, the extra tongue. It kind of shines a light to what would have happened to the dad, that doing something to his son will make him understand more about pain. I guess pain is a teacher in a sense. So the son would have been chopped up to pieces, and or the dad was gonna be in the bag like that record producer guy. As well, I guess Asami just being clingy, you know, to her extent of killing people that you might love as well, so you can only love her in the end.